I'm Mark Calloway, Applications Engineer at Man & Machine. In this video demonstration I'm going to show you Revit architecture. Here we have the Revit home screen, which is the first screen upon loading Revit. In the middle of the screen we're presented with the most recent opened projects. On the left hand side we can open or start a new model, open or start a new family, and we also have access to any BIM 360 projects. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a new model. So I'm going to click on the new button. Here we get presented with which template we want to use. We can choose none. In this case I'm going to select architectural template, as this is an architectural demonstration, and I'm going to go ahead and click OK. To give you a quick user interface tour, across the top we have our main ribbon bar, which is consistent throughout most Autodesk products. In the case of this demonstration, I'm going to be concentrating on the Architecture tab, which can be found here. On here we can find our architectural tools, such as architectural walls, doors, windows, and we have other options such as creating levels, creating grids, doing model lines, stairs, ramps, railings, and that sort of stuff. Should I move my mouse cursor over one of these buttons, Revit provides us with a tooltip. Some tooltips will provide an animation demonstration showing you the tool in action. We can see here as well that next to the title wall in brackets we have the letters WA. Revit uses two key shortcuts. These are fully customizable, so you can change them. You can assign new shortcuts to new buttons and so on and so forth. In the middle of the screen we have our main work area. Any views that we open, should they be floor plans, 3D views, schedules or sheets, will display in this area here. On the left hand side we have two windows. We have our main properties window here. With nothing displayed, it will display the properties of the view that we're currently in. Should we select an item within the project, the properties window will display the properties for that item. Below that we have our project browser, and this is the main way of navigating through our project within Revit. We can see here that we currently have views expanded, and inside that we have our floor plans expanded. I can navigate to different views by simply double clicking on them, and you can see in the main projects area I now have a new view open. As well as having access to our floor plans, under views we've also got our ceiling plans, 3D views and elevations. Also in the project browser we can access legends, schedules, sheets, any families loaded in, which are the equivalent of AutoCAD blocks. These are elements such as any walls, any furniture, any doors, that sort of stuff. We can group items together and they'll be listed here, and we can also link in other Revit projects and they'll be listed here too. At the bottom of our main project window we have a series of buttons here. These are our visual buttons, such as changing the scale of the current view, the level of detail, visual styles. We can turn the sun on, shadows, hide elements, reveal hidden elements, and so on and so forth. So next we're going to look at constructing something within Revit. I might go for a simple two-storey office block. But first of all, let's take a look at our elevation views. For this, I'm just going to select our south elevation view. And here we can see any levels that we've currently got set up within the project. We've got the default level 0, and 4,000 millimeters above that we've got our default level 1. I'm going to rename them. I'm going to change level 0 to ground floor. And Revit's going to ask me if I want to rename any corresponding views, and we'll see in the project browser that level 0 will rename to ground floor. I'm going to rename level 1 to first floor. And I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to update the corresponding views. And then I'm going to add another level on there for the roof, and for that on the Architecture tab I'm going to select the Levels button. And I'm just going to place this in the project. I'm not too bothered about where I place it at this time. What I can do is I can select that level, select the height, and I can manually set that to a new value, and that's automatically going to adjust the level within the project. We can also see that Revit's also created a floor plan for that level. I'm going to go ahead and just rename that to roof. So now that we've got our levels set up, I might want to add some external walls to the project. For that, I'm going to head to my ground floor plan. I'm going to select the wall button from the architecture tab. This is going to take me into the drawing mode for creating walls within Revit. Although Revit is a 3D application, a lot of the work that we're going to be doing are going to be in 2D views. So if you come from a background of CAD applications such as AutoCAD or ArchiCAD, we're going to be using some of the similar processes here. Looking at our draw tools, we've got items such as drawing lines, rectangles, polygons, circles, arches. There's a few extra things on here. We can pick existing line work, so if we've already got a 2D plan as an underlay, we can simply select the line work on there. But the smart thing about Revit is, unlike AutoCAD, where you would draw your two lines and add a hatch pattern in between, Revit knows that it's a wall that we're creating. And if we look at the properties window here, we can see a selection of predefined walls. I'm just going to pick one at random. And I'm not going to be too bothered about the measurements for this demonstration. I'm just going to draw some walls in here. You can see we get some snaps as well. And although I've used the line tool to draw these walls, Revit has automatically generated the walls for me. Now I've just placed these walls in without really looking at the properties of the walls. I don't know what the heights are, whether there's any offsets or anything like that. If I select one of these walls, we can see the properties. We can see that the base of the wall is constrained to the ground floor level. There's currently no offset. And then looking at the top of the wall, it's currently unconnected, so it's not attached to a level, but it does have a height specified of 8,000 millimeters. That is correct for the roof level. However, should I change the height of that level, say to 8,500, the walls will automatically adjust. So what I can do is I can change this from unconnected to roof. You can see the height is now grayed out. That's because it's controlled by the height of the level roof. And all I need to do is apply that property to the other three walls. I could select those walls and change them manually, or I can just use the match properties tool. Using that, I can choose the wall that I want to apply the properties from, and then click in the three remaining walls. I should find that they've automatically updated the properties. And although we're working in a 2D environment, Revit is producing a 3D model. Going back to the properties for the walls, if I select one of these, the properties that we get in the properties window here are the instance properties. So these are unique to this particular instance of wall and can be different to the other placements that I have. What we have access to is the type properties, and this is where we control the properties for that type of wall. So any placement of walls of this type will get its properties from here. So for example, if I want to change the structure of this wall, for example, we have the finished plaster wall, finished plaster face on the inside of the wall, currently set to 12.5. I might want to make that 15 mils. If I apply that change, that's going to apply to every instance of that wall. So Revit does allow for a high level of customization and control and ability to make changes throughout the project. Going back to my ground floor plan, I might want to place some internal partition walls. Again, just go into the architecture tab, click on walls, and from the property window I'm just going to scroll down and I'm going to look for an internal partition wall. go for a metal stud wall, and I might want to divide this space in half. And you can see that Revit gives me certain snaps such as midpoint, and I can very easily divide that space in half. And if I want to do the same again, I can then divide that space in half and then that space in half. Again, selecting the walls, looking at the properties, we can see that these internal walls will only go up to the first floor. So far, I've been placing these without really checking the measurements. And Revit allows for a high degree of flexibility in terms of making changes after placement. For example, the wall that I've got selected here, we've got some temporary dimensions. Perhaps I want the space in the middle here to be 4,000 millimeters, not 4,080. I can quite easily change that there live on the screen. If I've placed the wall with the finished face for the exterior on the inside instead of on the outside, I can easily change which side is on the inside or outside. Once I've got my internal partition walls, I might want to create a floor. Again, on the Architecture tab, just clicking that floor button. Again, from the properties, choosing the type of floor I want to use, although I'm not too concerned for this demonstration. Looking at our draw tools, we've got a pick walls option. I do have the traditional lines, arcs, circles, polygons to draw the outer boundary of the floor. But we also get this pick walls, and what that means is I can just simply go around and click on the 4 external walls, and Revit's automatically going to draw in the boundary for me. Clicking the green finish tick button in the ribbon bar, Revit's going to generate that floor, which is currently selected. And to place ceilings in these rooms, again, going to the project browser, we do have our ceiling plan views. And going to the Architecture tab and clicking on Ceiling. There's no need to draw the boundary of the ceiling. I can manually sketch the outline of the ceiling, allowing me to do some quirky stuff such as ceilings within ceilings. But for this instance, I'm just going to go with the auto ceiling, and I can click within the boundaries of 4 walls, and Revit's automatically going to place the outline of the ceiling there and apply the grid and apply the ceiling system. If I go to the properties window, I can choose the type of ceiling to place. I can do that before, I can do that after placement. That's the same with walls as well, as previously mentioned. If I select a wall, I can go to the properties window and I can change that particular instance of wall. I'm just going to go around the remainder of the rooms. I'm just going to click inside those, and Revit's automatically going to place the ceiling systems there. Happy with the ground floor, I'm now going to move to the first floor. As you can see, we can see the floor plan below. And that's just the visibility settings, just to give us a representation or to use the floor below as an underlay. That's just in my view properties here. I can choose to turn that off if I want, and change the direction, and even change the level that's being viewed. And for now, I'm just going to leave them there. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a floor into this view. Revit's going to ask me if I want the walls on the floor below to attach to the floor that I've just created on the first floor. I'm going to click yes to that. And then next I'm going to add a roof onto this building. So I'm going to go to the roof level. I'm going to change the underlay to the first floor. And then on the architecture tab, I'm just going to go to the roof tool, choose the type of roof I want. I'm going to use the pick walls tool to draw the outline of the roof. I'm going to add an overhang on. So this is essentially going to add an offset. I'm going to specify that at 500 millimeters. And as I go around clicking on the walls, you can see that Revit's drawing the boundary of the roof for me with that 500mm offset. Once I'm happy, I can click that green finish tick button in the ribbon bar, and Revit's going to generate a roof based on my properties. Go into a 3D view, we can see that roof. I can customize that roof. If I select it, I can change the angle of the slope. Maybe it only needs to be 25 degrees. I can also choose on which faces the roof slopes. If I go back into editing the boundary of the roof, if I select one of these lines, you can see there's these little pink triangles. They define that side slopes. I can turn that off, for example, on these two ends here. And the roof will no longer slope on those faces. However, we're now left with a gap where the wall doesn't fill in the space between the wall and the roof. That can easily be solved within Revit. I just select the wall, I'll tell it I want to attach it, click what I want to attach it to, and Revit will automatically extend and trim the wall as necessary. Just need to do the same on the other side. Select the wall, attach, select the roof, and Revit is going to attach that to the roof. Next, I might want to add some doors into my project. So again, I'm going to go back to my ground floor plan. I'm going to do some internal doors first. So I'm going to go back to the architecture tab, go to doors. From the properties window, I can choose what type of door I want to use. I'm going to go with the 810 by 2110. I'm going to place a couple of instances of these. I can choose which side the door is going to swing on just simply by moving the mouse cursor to either side of the wall. I can also change the direction that the door swings by using the spacebar key on my keyboard. And should I accidentally place one of these going into the wrong room, swinging in the wrong direction, I can select the door after placement, and I can use the little directional arrows to flip the door as required. Next, I may decide to add some windows into the project, and there's two ways I can do this. We do have a Windows function on the Architecture tab with preloaded windows in there. I might go for the 1810 by 1210, and I can place that simply by clicking on the wall, and Revit's automatically going to cut an opening in the wall and place an instance of the window in there. And I can just go around and place these windows. Again, I've got those flip icons, so if I do have the sill on the wrong side, I can flip those and correct that after placement. I can also adjust the positioning of the window after placement too. But we can also use curtain walling to add windows into our project. And for that, I'm just going to go to the wall tool. And in the properties window for walls type, if I scroll down, we've got our options here for curtain walls. There's one here for exterior glazing. I might use that one. The placement of the window is going to be from the ground floor. I'm going to have an offset of 100 mils. It's going to be unconnected, and the unconnected height is going to be 1100. All I need to do now is click on the wall where I want to start my curtain wall window system, and that's automatically going to cut out, or in this case it's not automatically going to cut out, the curtain wall system. What I failed to change prior to placing that curtain wall is if we go into the type properties, we have this option here to automatically embed within a wall. For this particular type of curtain walling it was disabled. I'm just going to enable that and apply. And now when I place an example of that, and we can't see it in this view because it's above or below the cut plane. If we go into a 3D view, we can now see that those windows cut through the wall. I can adjust these after placement. I can select those, and maybe I want it to have a base offset of 500 and a top height of 1500. And that's going to automatically adjust. I can adjust the mullions after placement. I can remove them, add additional panels in there. I can change the measurements and the spacings as you would expect from Revit. I might want to replicate the window system on the floor above. I'll just remove that window for now. So I've got my curtain wall system there. I've got a couple of windows around the building on the different faces. I might want to replicate that on the floor above. For that, I can select these. I'm just going to hold down the control button and just manually add them to my selection because there's only a few of them. And then I can use the copy and paste feature. So I can copy those to clipboard. When it comes to pasting, we can paste to a selected level. And I'm going to choose the first floor. And that's automatically going to place a copy of the window system on the ground floor onto the first floor. Now that I've got the skeleton of the structure in place, I might want to go back to my ground floor and start specifying rooms. Again, on the architecture tab, I'm going to select the room tool, and within the boundaries of a wall I can click, and Revit's automatically going to specify that as a room. I can go around and click in these spaces, and each one of them will become a designated room. Selecting those rooms, I can customize those. I can click on the tags here, I can go to the properties window, and I can change the names. Maybe this one is the meeting room. And by updating the name there, you can see that the properties associated with that space room has now updated. We can pull certain information out from this room. We can pull out the area, the perimeter, the height, the volume should we need to. And anything else that's relevant. I'm just going to go around and I'm going to rename some of these. As you can see, this time I've updated it through the tag, but the effect is the same. At present, looking in the project browser at our floor plans, we've got one for the first floor, ground floor, roof. You're probably going to want multiple plans for the same levels. For the ground floor, we're not going to want all our dimensions, all our furniture, all our room layouts in the same view. So what we can do is we can duplicate this view and start specialising these plans. So I duplicate with detail. I might want this one to be a room layout plan. So I might want this view to be colour coded. So to do that, I can go to our colour schemes, head over to rooms, and I might want to colour code it based on the room name, and I can see that there's one already set up here for that. So I'm just going to click OK to that, and in this view, I'm going to scroll down to our colour schemes. Click on the property, and from here I can choose the colour schemes that we've already got pre-created, in this case room names. I can customise any of these colours. Maybe I don't want the main office to be the screeny sort of colour, I might want it to be blue. So I can click OK to that, and that's going to update the colour for that room. Clicking OK, and that's going to apply the colour scheme to this particular view. We can also add a legend on here, just to give us a breakdown of the different rooms. For that, I'm just going to head over to the Annotate tab. Head over to Colour Fill Legends. I'm not too bothered about saving the project at this time. And I now have a room legend attached to my mouse cursor, and I can click to place that, and that's automatically going to update based on the colour scheme I've got applied and any changes I need to make. Heading back over to the project browser, I'm going to rename this view. At the moment it's just ground floor copy 1, which isn't very helpful. I can rename that to ground floor room plan. I might want a furniture plan, in which case again I'm going to duplicate that original ground floor. I'm going to rename this to furniture. I'm going to hide these rooms, and to do that I'm just going to select one of these, right click on it, and I'm going to hide in view category, so any room is going to hide now, so you can see that they all disappear. I'm going to add some furniture into this view, so I'm going to go back to the Architecture tab, click on the Components button. I might want to place some desks. I'm going to place one down here. I might want to array this through this open space, so I'm going to select the Array tool. I'm going to choose to have 5 desks. I'm going to choose the position of the last desk. I'm going to place it up there, and that's going to place 5 desks in my array. I may want to repeat that again and do another column. This time I'm just going to do a simple copy and paste. I might decide to have 3 rows. With my furniture plan complete, I might want a third and final floor plan for the ground floor with dimensions on there. So again, I'm going to duplicate view. I'm going to hide all the rooms in this view. I'm going to hide all the furniture in this view. I'm going to head over to the Annotate tab, select Align Dimension, and I can start adding dimensions onto this view. I might want an overall dimension for the building. And at the moment it's picking up the wall centerline. Maybe I want the exterior face of that wall, and I can select that by using the Tab key to cycle through nearby objects. And on the other side again, it's picked up the centerline, so pressing that Tab key, you can see I can cycle through. I'm going to place that up there. Do the same down there. And then I'm going to place some room dimensions. So again, I'm going to get the interior faces of the wall. I'm just going to go around and place these. I may want my dimensions to be half-tone. I can select one of them, right click on it to get its properties. I'm going to override the graphics for my dimensions in this view. I'm going to do it by category. By element means I just change that one particular dimension. By category we'll update them all in this particular view. I'm just going to set them at half-tone. There we go. And of course I'm going to rename this floor plan. Next I might want to create some sections through my project. And for that, all I need to do is on one of my floor plans is draw a section line, and Revit will automatically generate the view. I can do that through the quick access bar on the view tab. Clicking a start point and an end point. Revit's going to draw that section line in there. I can choose the extents of this view, and we can see in the project browser that under sections, Revit has created a new view. Double clicking on that, this gives us the section that we've just created. We can also create callouts within Revit if we need to add additional detailing. Again, on the view tab, I'm just going to select callout. I'm going to create my callout over this section of exterior wall. You can see Revit's automatically generated a new view. And I can customize this callout with any detailing that I need to add. Moving on from views, we can create schedules within Revit. We can see here that we have a default room schedule already created. I'm going to create a new one. Revit's going to ask me what category of schedule I want to create. Scrolling down, I can see there's a category for rooms. It's going to ask me what properties I want to include in this schedule. First category I might want is the room name. Looking down the list of properties, we should be able to find name. Next, I might want the number. I might want to know what level a particular room is on. I want to include the area of the room, and perhaps I may also want the volume. Clicking OK, Revit will now automatically generate me a room schedule. This is fully customizable, so I could change the name of this. Clicking the Fields tab takes us back to that first screen where we can choose our properties. I could add additional information into here. Maybe I want a count. Click OK, and it'll give me a total number of rooms by those names. We can filter the rooms, so maybe there's certain rooms that we don't want to include. Maybe we don't want waiting rooms in the list. So I can filter by names, and anything that does not equal waiting room. And that will now filter out any rooms in the list that go by the name waiting room. I can change the sorting. I can group them together. Or I can have Revit itemize everything. I can change the formatting. So the property name, I might want to say room name. I can adjust the heading here to room name. Click OK, and that's automatically going to update. We can adjust the appearance for when we place this on a sheet. We might want grid lines, we may not want grid lines. I can adjust the fonts and text sizes associated with the schedule. And once we've got all this information, we may want to place this on a sheet. Again, in the project browser, I can create a new sheet. I could choose a title block to use. In this instance, I'm just going to go with one of the Revit default title blocks. And then to add elements onto the sheet, it's just a simple question of dragging and dropping from the project browser. For example, if I want the ground floor dimensions plan on this sheet, I just select it in the project browser and drag it across. I can now place that on my sheet. Perhaps I also want the room plan on there. Again, drag, drop, and I can also place the furniture plan. I can also place sections, schedules, legends. Pretty much anything that exists within the project browser can be selected and placed on my sheet.